Today I saw what may be the most disturbing thing I've seen in a long time that escapes the realm of conspiracy and breaks its way into real life in a rather horrifying way. How would all of you like to get your COVID-19 health passport? Why, if you would like to travel internationally now that the US passport is basically worthless, all you've got to do is one simple thing, and it's hand over your blood. I'm not exaggerating. Users will have their blood screened in an approved COVID pass laboratory. Once they've confirmed that, I guess, for now, you're not COVID positive, you will get a QR code on your phone, which you can then use to scan. You want to know why this makes no sense? You could catch COVID at any point. So what are you going to do? You're going to go every time you want to travel, you got to go to a facility to get your blood drawn. Then they'll approve you on your phone. And then what happens if you catch COVID then? It seemingly makes no sense. But yeah, that's the idea from the World Economic Forum. Users will have their blood screened in an approved COVID pass laboratory. What a great... I'm kidding. So what nightmares are made of, man. Look, there are people who today probably don't care if they give up blood. I find that a little weird, notably for the reasons I just gave. But I remember talking to an older fella about Social Security numbers. And he was telling me that it's insane that we just accept that we're born with a government registry number that we have to use for everything. There was a time, apparently, when people in this country were freaked out by the idea of having a Social Security number. That the government would give everyone a number was crazy. But you know what? We have problems to deal with. I mean, we have an expanding population, and it becomes harder and harder to operate. I mean, the kind of government we operate, it is difficult at this level, and that's why we're seeing a lot of polarization and fighting. But I'm not convinced that giving our blood would do anything. Doesn't seem. And look, this is a World Economic Forum, man. This is legit. I'm using a NewsGuard certified source. Granted, it's not like. Look, let me read this for you. Explain exactly what they're proposing you do. They say, could this COVID-19 health passport be the future of travel and events? Rising COVID-19 infection rates pose a threat to global tourism. A new app acts as a health passport for travelers who are virus-free. Using blockchain technology, it provides an encrypted record of test results. Its creators say it could allow healthy travelers to avoid quarantine. The app could also allow sports and entertainment venues to reopen safely, as well as the global conference and exhibition industry. Thousands of summer holidays are now up in the air, following a series of COVID-19 flare-ups around the world, with trips canceled and travelers forced to quarantine when they return home. In mid-July, the number of confirmed cases globally jumped by 1 million in just 4 days. The UK imposed a 14-day isolation on holidaymakers returning from Spain after infection rates spiked there, prompting the UK's biggest tour operator to cancel all the holidays to that country. After recording its first cases since April, Vietnam closed the tourist hotspot of Da Nang and evacuated 80,000 tourists. Now, a new health passport app promises to restore confidence to the travel industry, which has been badly hit by the pandemic. Global tourism shrank by 97% in April, according to the United Nations World Tourism Organization. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I bring you now to your solution. Just give a little bit of blood every time you want to do anything, I guess. And then your app will let you in, which makes no sense. COVID Pass is the brainchild of one of the World Economic Forum's young global leaders, Mustafa Mokas. It also involves other YGLs across 5 continents, including Muna, Abu Suleiman, and Peggy Liu. COVID Pass uses blockchain technology to store encrypted data from individual blood tests, allowing users to prove that they have tested negative for COVID-19. Unlike contact tracing apps, COVID Pass will not track users' movements, individual blood tests. Non-mandatory contact tracing apps have met with only limited success so far due to privacy concerns. What? I'm pretty sure that I'm pretty sure giving my blood is about as invasive as you could possibly get. Germany, regarded as one of the most successful nations in rolling out a voluntary app, currently has only 16 million users out of 83 million citizens. Experts say at least half the population needs to use a contact tracing app to make it effective in fighting the virus. As at this point, I would like to say, and I love this Constitution of ours, right? It's so easy to force populations to do crazy things in other countries. Now, of course, the left in this country probably would love the idea of you going and giving up some of your blood. But at a certain point, we have to recognize the rights of the individual and our bodily autonomy. However, they're going to do it. They're going to implement this kind of stuff in a very clever way. Listen, if you want to go on a trip, well, have you given your blood to get tested? Now, as I stated earlier, the reason I think this makes no sense is like, what if you get sick, I don't know, like a day later? What if you go for your test like a few days before? When do you have to go for your test? Do you have to go to a lab and get blood screened every time you try and travel? That makes no sense. Let's read a little bit more. They say governments are faced with a variety of different testing regimes to validate the health of travelers. This isn't enough to reassure tourists of health authorities, says Mocas. Mocas hopes his app, which is launching in September, will become a standardized solution for airlines, airports, and border agencies and eliminate quarantine for healthy travelers. COVID Pass could also allow hotels, cinemas, theaters, sporting and concert venues to reopen safely. Another possible use would be to help restart the worldwide conference and exhibition industry, which has contracted by 60% at a cost of $180 billion in lost revenue and impacting 1.9 million jobs, according to the industry's global association, UFI. COVID Pass commits to mandatory carbon offsetting for each flight passenger to preserve the environmental COVID Pass commits to mandatory carbon offsetting for each flight passenger to preserve the environmental benefits of reduced air travel during the crisis. Okay, I tell you what. How would you like to just get a vaccine instead? I'm not confident. Look at this system. COVID, look, this is amazing. They actually have is this a mock-up or is this real? This is from just the other day. You have an app. They scan your blood. Your app is then approved to enter. It's a whole new passporting system based on your blood. That's kind of crazy to me. You know that when people were doing that ancestry stuff, I don't know exactly how it works when they're giving up their DNA. Apparently it was being shared with like law enforcement agencies. Let's talk about the best solutions for this. First of all, maybe y'all should stop allowing mass protests. You want to reopen the conference run or whatever? Yeah, stop the protests. They complained if only everybody wore a mask. Shut up. You guys are out protesting nonstop. You expect me to believe that you care about this? No. Okay, I'll tell you what. Me personally, I'm looking forward to a much simpler solution, and that's a vaccine. Now, I know a lot of people are skeptical, and I think that's fair. Let me tell you something. I'm not going to be one of these people first out the door to rush in to get a vaccine. Now, I'm a bit of a homebody. You know, I work 16-hour days. I have my own home office and studio. We're expanding. I'm not going to be traveling outside of the country in the foreseeable future. To be honest, I have a bit of privilege in that regard, and that I've traveled to basically every continent in the past, 10 years. So at this point, I'm going to stay, in my office, expand my business, do my thing, and I don't have the requirements for travel. I'm not going to rush out the door and get a vaccine because I'm not confident that the vaccines... Look, I'm not going to be the first person to guinea pig trial any of these rushed out vaccines because things like thalidomide have existed in the past. Don't know what it is? Look it up. Apparently, it was like this drug from way back when that resulted in kids having like no arms or something like that. Mistakes happen. And that's why we do extended testing on medications. I will not be the first person to get a vaccine, but I do think getting a vaccine is the simple solution. And I'll tell you what, man, I have gotten tons of vaccines because I've traveled all over the world, and I'm actually pretty good at what I do. So I don't know. Look, whatever people have these issues with, when I travel to a bunch of countries, they make you get these inoculations because of the different diseases that exist in different parts of the world. So there was one day where I got like 4 shots in one go, and I'm fine. As far as I can tell, I don't know. Maybe we'll find out something horrible later. I have no idea. I seem to be a strapping young male, young-ish. I don't know, whatever. I'm 34. So I'll tell you what. No, I'm not going to be too enthused about giving up my blood to some company so my phone can work. I'll tell you what. How about you do this? If people get vaccines, then their app can just say vaccinated. That's all you need, right? Nobody needs to give up their blood. This could potentially be their big ask scenario. How about you give up your blood on a regular basis, or we give you a shot one time? Yeah, okay. I'll take the vaccine when I need it. The other thing is, I'll tell you what, man, look, I'm not a conspiratorial kind of person. I do not believe there's a grand conspiracy to inject people with this crazy, mind control drug or other nonsense like that. It would be the most ridiculous circumstance, the longest, longest of long shots, if they did COVID vaccination and then all of a sudden something weird happened to millions of people. It's just that these things, they don't happen, okay? It's sure there's probably some likelihood, but that's why I'm saying I'm not going to run out the door full speed and be like, I'll be the first to try it. I think that's, nah. I prefer living and being healthy, but within a few months or a year or so, I will have no problem getting it. Here, let me just wrap it up with this. This is invasive and ridiculous in my opinion. When I went to the doctor and got it was like typhoid and like hepatitis shots for like traveling around the world, yellow fever. I don't know what's in those needles. I'm just trusting the doctor. And they're putting things in my body, okay? So look, I trust a guy I've never met before. I walked in and he's like, "Hi, I'm a doctor." I'm like, "I'll take your word for it, guy in a white coat. Please take that needle and jam it in my arm." I mean, you'd think that's kind of silly, but look, for the most part, I am, careful with my health. And I think for the most part, these things will be fine. Giving up your blood is a step too far over the line as far as I'm concerned. That I probably wouldn't do. I'm sure a lot of people won't care and they'll carry on with their lives. But you know what, man? It's getting weird and it's getting weirder. So I'll leave it there. Got a couple more segments in just a few minutes. Stick around and I will see you all shortly.